So folks.
All right. So I'm going to count because the main thing that you're feeling here are the eighth notes, right? So I'm going to count the normal way, the traditional way. This is in 3/4, which means there's 3 beats in a measure, but there are 3 quarter notes in the measure, or the equivalent. So the first measure, there's 2 eighths, a quarter, and 2 more eighths. So I'm trying not to get hung up on that. I just needed to explain that. But these rhythms, the complicated thing about this is the rhythms, we call them, they go over the bar. So the way that you feel them is slightly different than the way it presents itself on the page. But if you think about the groups, the first group is 2 eighths and a quarter. And then the second group, even though the measure splits it in half, if you just think about it as 4 eighths and a quarter, and the next one 4 eighths and a quarter, next one 4 eighths and a quarter. It's a pattern. The second line is almost the same, a little bit different. We have 2 eighths and a quarter, 4 eighths and a quarter, 4 eighths and a quarter, and then 2 eighths and a half, which is it's basically, it's going to sound and feel the same as 2 eighths and a quarter. Then the next grouping is split in half by the line, but if you put them together in your mind, it's still 4 eighths and a quarter, then 4 eighths and a quarter, and then what's that? 8 and a half, right? So that's just a new rhythmic pattern, rhythmic cell. We call them rhythmic cells. Then the next one is a repeat of that. We have 4 eighths and a quarter, 4 eighths and a quarter, and 8 eighths and a quarter, or half, whatever. And I'm going to count it 1 and 2 and 3 and we start. That's the eighth note. That's what the eighth note feels like. So a quarter note is going to feel like it has 2 beats. And that's a really confusing thing. That hung me up for years when I was a kid. I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. But, yeah. Just think, quarter note has 2, so the quarter rest has 2 beats. It's going to feel like 2 beats. The half note is going to feel like 4 beats. So, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Rest. So that does not feel to me like it's in 3/4 at all. It feels like the time signature is changing. Could be that because we're playing it that slow, but it is possible in music for the time signature to change all the time. If you go to the Balkans, that music is all over the place, and it's awesome. That's where Dave Brubeck got the idea for the Time Out album. All the different time signatures changing all over the place because that's what they like to do. So when you conceive of this, when you're playing it, don't get hung up on the 3/4. Just think about da da da. Like think about the rhythmic cells. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, right, and then the next rhythmic cell. Da 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 da. And that's most of it until you get it's either da 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 or it's da 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 da. And then the last one is da 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 da. And other than that, it's just kind of like a quarto exercise. So you could do, if you practice in a way, like if you just do the first little cell over and over till it feels good, and then do the next one. memorize that little pattern and then do the next one. And the next one. Right? He's trying to trick you, so pay attention.